The title of my work is Gone with the Wind, which is the name of the book that it's made out of. The base is a bamboo hoop skirt, and on top of the skirt has gouache flowers painted all over it, and there's some origami butterflies, and the corset is paper mache. I was at the Met in New York. I saw all these things, I was like, this is really cool. What could I do that I haven't seen in person? So I guess I just combined all of those things, and this is what I came up with, and I thought it was very unique and very me. An artist that has stuck out to me was Edgar Degas. He's very famous for his series of paintings and sculptures on dancers. I feel like the way that he captured the movement of the skirts and the poise of the dancers in the paintings. They were always just really inspiring as a young dancer, but also just capturing that beauty of movement in an unmoving piece.
Time to Wake Up is my own take on a self-portrait, which takes elements from each year of my life within my bedroom and stacks on top of it a bunch of symbolism and memories which represent my growth throughout the years. The majority of the workload was mostly through rendering, although a lot of thought went into sketching, obviously, because I had to include so many elements from my life. Time to Wake Up is made with alcohol marker and pigment pen, sketched up with pencil, ballpoint pen and watercolor markers as well, with black and white elements in the drawing. I think this is one of those pieces where I've kind of planned the idea and just systematically gone over with the different mediums to format it a bit more neatly, I think. Especially with using alcohol marker, pigment pen, you need to make sure that those two mediums don't combine because they tend to smudge on the page a lot.
My piece is called Capture My Likeness. It's about the journey of a woman being pressured to take vulnerable pictures of herself. For privacy reasons, I have chosen to omit my picture from this recording. I began with some digital sketches and then moved those over to Illustrator to create some vector silhouettes, because I'm very inspired by like Pixar's concept art, very geometric, clean, blocky shapes and silhouettes. I did my vector all in grayscale and then moved it over to Adobe Photoshop to place like layer masks and colors over it. I'm very indecisive, and I guess I just really wanted it to be perfect. Not present the issue in a very elementary way. I wanted it to be more deep and meaningful.
When creating the point, we were going through a lot of hard decisions, especially for stage 2. Life is like starting to daunt on you. But I actually really enjoyed how I could kind of be open with my interests and like what I liked. I just found that many people could relate to what I said. Art has always been a big part, and I think it always will be. It's just something like I could relate. It's just a way for me to show off what I really like. I have a very optimistic view in life, so I think adding a bit of animation makes it sort of more fun, and it takes off the sense of realism. Having something personal to show about myself, it's telling about who I am as a person, and I really enjoy doing that.
My artwork's a 3D model of a hotel I've built with a medium of balsa wood. Just for a while, I've loved architecture and sustainability, so this year I just wanted to challenge myself by going with a medium that I've never worked with before. I've tried my best to use old pieces of wood that I found around the art studio, and mainly like dark colors but contrasted with earthy tones. My biggest challenges, I guess, was that I've never actually worked with balsa, so it was hard to wrap my head around how it works, what's the best techniques to use to model and shape the wood. So I've focused on including a passive design, basically taking advantage of the surrounding environment, so eliminating the use of artificial needs for the home.
My piece is called The Space Between. It is about the tranquility through nature and how anyone can like find calm within a natural environment. I used natural NT kind of base things, so there's a frangipani tree in there just to symbolize also home. It's a garden that I took a photo of from the Darwin Botanic Gardens, and it has vines going up both of them, which signifies the return of nature after human intervention, I guess. I use the piano because it's like my love of music as well. The lamp, it's a slightly old-fashioned, came from Narnia, and it connects like the past, the present, the future. I kept it safe. I used acrylic, added a bit of impasto to create a bit of texture. When I was painting it, I kept on trying to add more light to it to make it more realistic, but every time I added a lighter color, it just vanished into the background, so I had to keep on mixing colors, trial and error, which colors worked, which ones didn't.
My piece is called Imperfect Expression. I kind of feel it as a reflection of me. It's an imperfect expression, but there's beauty in imperfection. I knew from the very start, the very first day, that I wanted to do ceramics. And then as I did my inquiry and I researched into a lot of people, I was like, I want to tell a story through my work. The first half is like quite dull, and then everything changes into like vibrant, more asymmetrical stuff. So that's something I want to challenge myself with and give a go. Clara Holt was my main source of like inspiration. She's who I did my inquiry on. And I really liked the way she uses like Greek mythology to tell a story, but also use those images to let other people have their own story within the work.
My film is called The Echo of Us, and it follows into the themes of growing up in the NT and just experiencing childhood, adolescence. I was inspired by The Graduate. The director uses a lot of effects while incorporating nice long shots to sort of set the scene. I used Premiere Pro for editing. With only just like a year experience before, I had to watch a lot of tutorials on bringing different effects in. Some of it just didn't work out, so I sort of just had to improvise a lot, matching different clips together and also using the music to like uplift it a lot more. I hope audiences feel like sort of a connection to if they had a sibling or a cousin or a family member growing up, especially in the NT, a passion of being with your family member. The people I showed it to were like, oh, this is so cute. So I'm glad it had some kind of effect to them.
Confront It is really about the traumas of Darwin. When I first came here, I was really overtaken, as many are, by the natural landscape and the beauty of Darwin. I realised there's a lot of parts of our history that we haven't really confronted or moved on from. This work, I wanted to show both parts, so that's why I chose to print onto leaves. And what I do is print it out as a positive onto acetate. I put the leaf and the positive between glass and cardboard. I clamp the glass down and then put it out in the sun for 2 to 4 days because the chlorophyll in the leaf decays and the darker parts of the image decay slowly.
My artwork, Soul, is primarily just about my interpretation of the world and how I see myself, see other people. So I didn't actually plan out anything other than just the colors that I wanted to use. So I used a lot of purple, yellows, and on the center obviously was a giant eyeball. So the pupil of the eye has stars because I wanted to show how I feel connected to the universe. It kind of relates to something a bit more philosophical and theological, you could say, as well, because I did put in a lot of Christian symbols throughout the outside of the piece. My primary medium was acrylic, but I did use watercolor and ink as well. I don't think any artwork is ever fully complete. There is always work to be done. I feel like art does represent our souls. We are always progressing, at least I believe so. Can never really say anything's complete.
My artwork, No Other Land, is a mixed media artwork. It has a digital self-portrait and Arabic calligraphy in the background. After seeing what was happening in Palestine, I decided that I wanted to make an artwork that not only expressed my feelings towards what's happening, but also educate people about what is happening, because a lot of people aren't educated about what's happening in the Middle East at the moment. Basically, started experimenting with just some oil paints and, acrylics. I started writing in Arabic, and I've had a photo shoot with my sister and stuff, and that's where the whole idea started. I remembered that there's Mahmoud Darwish, he's really famous, well-known Palestinian poet, and I thought, I really like this poem, might as well just get some parts of it and put it in the background. Yeah, and I think in his poem, he's just speaking about his struggle and how Palestinians deserve to be on their land.
So this animation was about 1,600 frames. And I did a lot of the backgrounds and some visuals in Procreate, but I did majority of the animating in Flipper Clip. The grey shadows are mostly just strangers, people that I don't know. Red shadow I used as my inner thoughts on the inside, so that's completely different. And then the black shadow is the main character. So the character, which is me, goes through their daily life. They go through some challenges in their day and we get to see them break down. I struggled a lot with finer details, getting the timing right with the music, because I really wanted the music to have an impact. And eventually in the end, they rekindle their broken relationship with their sister.
My artwork is named Wake Up Dear Taiju, based on Dr. Stone. I was used to Impressionism. It's one of my favorite art styles. From the start, I was just sketching ways on how to portray the artwork, in different perspectives. And then I also experimented on different colors, how different artists from Impressionists or Post-Impressionism uses different colors to show the emotion. The mediums I chose for this artwork was oil pastels. Most of it I used my finger because it was really smooth and easy to work with. What I want audiences to see from the artwork is just the terror that he just sees his friend dying in front of him.
It's a still life of our art classroom. I was really struggling to pick what I wanted to do, and then I looked around the classroom and I just picked a spot and took some photos. It's of our washing station. I did start with an under sketch. It was good to get the portions right. I started off with a light wash and then I did a few of the background stuff and then worked my way in. I switched to oil painting this year mainly because of my teacher. He encouraged me to try different mediums, so I decided to do oil paint. It was a bit of a struggle in terms of colours, mixing it all and having to just go from the primary colours and then make all the colours. I kept smudging it and I had to restart a few times. And it was just a lot of patience because it took a few days for layers to dry.